Well, I'm going to start off with a little history. I'm going to take you back to 1957. The Russians put up the first satellite called Sputnik. It was successful, and this country was in a panic. So we put up a satellite very shortly after, but it failed because we didn't know what we were doing. So the government went to hams. The government went to hams and said, you know, how can we do this for communication? And some hams designed the satellite, and it was successful. So the hams have been involved in the satellites very early this country has put up. And I believe that was part of the start of the HamSat, where hams can help out. But and incidentally, Sputnik crashed in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. There's a spot on the street and a plaque on the building.
HamSat, if I may interject, is amateur satellites.
Amateur Corporation.
And the 50th anniversary of the nonprofit organization and putting satellites was last year, 2019, 50 years. We're on our 51st year.
This is the AMSAT publication for hams who are interested in satellite. So, and we're members of AMSAT, and I think Dean is, and so, you know. Okay, so that being said, that's the history. The satellites, there are quite a few of them up. There's three that we work. All I'm going to cover right now is the FM satellites. There's also a single sideband called linear satellites. Well, we're not going to talk back because that takes different equipment. But the FM satellites, the three of them, are actually there's four now, are very easy to work. You can work them with a handheld and this is called an arrow antenna. There are two brands, Arrow and L. And both of them basically do the same thing. The Arrow needs what's called a diplexer because you're going into two antennas from one radio connection. The L does not need a diplexer. It's built. It's a log periodic antenna. Does not need a diplexer. Both of them are very good antennas. Or you can build your own. I have plans here to build what is apparently a very good satellite antenna out of PVC and wire. It's called a folded Moxa, and I have plans for that, and I have instructions for setting up your radio for satellite. But the first thing you got to do is you have to know where the satellite is, and what time it's coming, what time it's going to be overhead, and what time it's going. Now, there's a couple different ways of doing this. Some people like to do it on the computer. There are free programs you can download from the AMSAT site to do it on the computer. I don't like to do it on the computer. I like to have it on my phone. So if I rove what's called rove, and he roves. We go out and we give different grids to the satellite people. But anyway, I can pick it up on my phone what the next satellite is at any moment. Yes.
Does everybody here know what he means when he says grid?
I'll go over. Okay, the whole world is divided up into squares, about 120 miles by about 60 miles, 60, 70 miles. The entire world is. Each one is given an alphanumeric. We are in EN. We're in EN.
This should be 52.
No, this ain't
62.
62. Yeah. I live in 52.
And there's apps for that.
There's an app right here. There's an app. I have an iPhone. The app is called HamSat. There's an app for people who have Droids that do the same thing. Or you can do it on your computer and print it out. But when I'm up north or up by the Mississippi River, something like that, I don't have my computer. I got my phone though.
You said it's AMSAT?
AMSAT. AMSAT.
No, you're looking for
Oh,
the.
no, Hamstat is the tracking app on iPhone. Hamstat.
Hamsat, Hamsat,
Hamstat.
and that's on iPhone. I don't know what the one is for Droid because I don't have a Droid, but I know the Hamsat. AMSAT puts out a manual every year on satellite because it changes quite a bit. New satellites go up, and you pass that around. And I'm waiting for this year's. The minute it's announced, I'll be buying it because I want to learn about the new satellites to the rough. But now let's take care of what's up there, what you can listen to. And I highly suggest, if you're interested, you take just your HT because it's all you got. Get a long antenna. You can buy these. I bought this off of eBay for I think $6-7. Okay, and try to pick up the satellite. Get the app on the phone. I think it costs $5 for lifetime. Program in the satellites, SO50, AO91, and AO92. And you can do, well, we won't worry about PO101 yet. Those 3 satellites.
If I may, your handheld should be dual band, 2 meter and 70 centimeter. So, because 50 is a 70 centimeter download, 2 meter upload, and it's just a reverse on AO91, 92. But to listen, I would go on just the listening frequencies. Now you can get a single. I don't know what the International Space Station frequency is.
145-800.
You can pick that up when they're making its passes, if it's operating the amateur station on board.
But you can never transmit to them. You can only listen.
And you can pick it up with just your HT and a rubber ducky.
You can transmit to them if they're listening.
If they're listening.
Yeah, and if they're not,
if they're
they don't have
listening.
anything else to do.
Yeah.
But it's a different uplink.
Yeah.
One thing Brad didn't mention about the grids, there's 488 grids in the continental United States. When we made the comment we chased grids, you can get your BUCC, which is your Century Award for 2 meters, and your other low frequencies starting at 100. So, and that's why we chase grids and go. And then after the Century Award, it goes up in 25 grid increments.
So we're very active in the grid chasing and in giving other people grids that we go to.
Yep.
Because there's whole states that there are no satellite people in. The state of Rhode Island has no satellite ham, but hams will rove to Rhode Island and give you Rhode Island. I need Rhode Island for a state.
I go out west. I've roved in 15 grids. I was just talking to made contact. There was quite the surprise. A guy in Livingston, Montana, over the weekend, and I looked at my log and said, "Oh, I've had him, KC7V." And then I got home. I logged them in. I've talked to him many times on the birds, and came back, and all of a sudden I got a new grid. And it was him, and I emailed him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm up on the grid north of me." I said, "I got a cabin up on the Muscle Shell." So we went back and forth. It was kind of cool because he remembers me from my ropes. But it's a hunt. It's a lot of fun to me. It's a passion. But there's people. There's one station, AA8 Charlie Hotel in Michigan. Chris, I gave him a grid. In November he was 14 away from his 488 grids. And when I put it on the bulletin board that I was in Baker, Montana, DN 74, he got right back to me and said, "I need that." So we made a schedule, and the next day I was in an oil field, and I worked him. And he was excited. Well, he eats 7 right now, and 2 of them in Idaho, and I think I can make it to Idaho this summer to give it to him. and that's the fun part of that. I'm with the VUCC. My number, okay, on that Century Award is 463. Yours is
430, I believe.
430.
Yeah.
There's over 200,000 amateurs in the continental United States. I guess the United States, if I'm correct.
Yes.
So I mean, to get that, it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of fun, but it's kind of distinct to have that kind of number. There's guys that are in the thousands with the grids, and then they go to different grids and set that up as their QTH and work that and continue on their Century Awards. But I just wanted to bring that on the grid while we're doing it.
We're doing, Rick and I think, are doing pretty well. For the time that, well, he's been in, he's running, you're going 175 now, right?
Yeah, I've got 175, and I started on May 12th of last year. I did not operate from my home QTH for 2 months out of that 8 months. So roughly in 6-7 months.
All that counts is you have to be within a 120-mile radius of your home QTH, otherwise it doesn't count. So I've operated from the Appalachian Mountains in Kentucky. I've operated from the mountains of Pennsylvania. I've operated from California, Arizona, Winslow, Arizona, Mississippi River, Iowa, Minnesota. I've operated from a lot of places that don't count, but I gave other people those grids.
I've given him more grids than the last one. The last one was in, well, it was January.
Yeah.
I was at the Custer Battlefield in Hardin, Montana, next to Custer's the memorial. And the bird, it was the timing, I think I had to wait for about a half hour for the bird. Nobody was around. It was a Tuesday to take a picture of me, but I got pictures of at Old Faithful. My QSL card is taken, then I made a special one up for satellites. It was at Devil's Tower, and I get a kick out of that. But I was walking around with my handheld at Old Faithful last July, and people thought I was tracking wolves. No. There was a couple hams that come up to me. They knew what I was doing. Yeah. So, but
well, I've been told, I've been asked if I was tracking animals too. Yeah. That's about the only thing I've been asked. No one really wants to know. I operate from a park. I can walk to the park, okay? And I got a good eastern view. And there's people in the park, and there's nobody that's come up and said, "What are you doing?" You know, nobody. Yes.
Can you each say what transceiver you're using and which antenna?
Sure, we'll get into that. Yeah, we just want to go over some basics first.
One of when he mentioned operating locations, I live in West Dallas. If you're familiar with West Dallas, Frank Lloyd Wright School, there's an athletic field there. There's a quarter-mile track. And the kids, I've been kicked off of it during PT because they don't want me out there to get in the way of the kids, and I have to get off to the side. I've had only one kid ask me what I was doing all last summer in the fall, and I said, I'm tracking satellites. Of course, they look up in the air, and which is a laugh, but even the teachers don't ask what I'm doing. But I've had hams stop and ask me, you know, they got an idea what I'm doing. So, but that field is unbelievable for me. Now with the snow and the ice, on a Western Bird, I park on 92nd, where you got the bleachers, if you're familiar with that field, and they got the opening, and I go up to the snow fence now, and I work the Western Bird.
And I work the Rock, the ski hill. Yeah. I work from there, and I get a pretty good. I get about a 330 degree view. Then the hill's in the way for a little bit. So I watch what it is. It has to be at least a 45 degree bird to west to be able to work it there. But I work from the ski hill, I work from the park, and I work from my driveway. It's better from the driveway in the winter. Trees block the signal because there's moisture in the leaves.
in the summer.
Yeah, in the summer. In the winter time, it's just beautiful from home. Right? So it's you can do it. You can go out and listen. You can program your radios like I have here. You can go out and try it. You got to be able to program an uplink and a separate downlink. And what you're listening to is the downlink. And you should go out and try it and try to. The one that will give you the most practice is SO50, because SO50 you have to tune for Doppler. I'll go. The satellite is moving at 17,000 miles an hour. Okay, it's and Doppler effect affects the satellite the same as it does. You can hear Doppler on the train coming down the track. You have to tune your radio for Doppler. You have to increase the frequency. So I have it set up so I have 5 positions for every satellite. I start with A, then I go to B, then when it's directly overhead, I go to M for mid, then D and E. And if you don't tune, you can't make it. But to learn to tune, SO50, you'll hear SO50 on A, and then you'll start to lose SO50, even though you're following it with your antenna. So you turn to B, you got it again. He's there. And then he'll fade away. And then you tune to C, you got him again. So learn to this way you'll learn to advance.
There's a gentleman called Clint Bradford.
You gonna pass them all around or what? What do you want to do?
Okay.
Clint Bradford,
You're talking to stuff.
I guess he makes his living doing
Yeah,
presentations to clubs. He charges. But he's got a website.
Yeah.
And he's got videos, and he explains it all very simply.
You can read. He's got loads on there. You can spend the whole day reading.
But he'll tell you the equipment of an Arrow. You asked about equipment. Is a half duplex Yaesu 60R. Okay? Half duplex, not a full duplex. Don't listen to the experts at HRO. If you want to do it, this thing has given me 169, 68 QSOs grids by using this. I don't know how many QSOs of duplicate grids. Okay, it's a very simple radio to program. I do use RT systems, the computerized spreadsheet system that you upload into it. I just upgraded in a way to a Kenwood THD 72, which is full duplex, which I don't really need, but it has capabilities of packet transmissions to the International Space Station, and I want to get involved, and then it's got also the capabilities of APRS.
APRS.
Yeah.
It's got GPS.
And which will stimulate my mind as the dementia sets in down the road.
Yeah, it's got D-Star too.
And no, the 74 does.
The 74, not the 72, no. The
But-
74 is not full duplex.
But
The
I
72 is full duplex but doesn't have D-Star.
Any radio do you have? Jeff, you got that 857?
Yeah.
I got my 857 program for satellites, and I was hooked up with a quarter wave, wasn't it? That very
Yeah,
first
quarter
one,
wave, yes.
quarter wave mag mount on my truck with my 857 in my apartment, running a 60-foot cable to that antenna, and I had a bird come over that was just about overhead one night, and I got my buddy N0PEL Wade in Missouri. We made a QSO by sitting in the house and running 60 feet of coax using the 857.
Now, I've used the same radio for 5 years. Then I got into the D72 I bought because of the full duplex, and I want to learn to send packets. But I used the same radio, hooked it up to a quarter wave whip on the roof of my van, and worked SO50. So it can be done.
You don't have to break the bank
No.
to do it. But I would suggest you do get some good equipment because it's going to be easier to program.
This would cost you about $150
Yeah.
for that antenna.
And the handheld is 150 right now too. Then you go ahead. Yes, sir.
So you've got 2 meter, and you've got
70 centimeter.
Yeah.
So that's how you're doing the, well, whatever, it's half
Yeah.
duplex you call it, so.
Yeah, you got a
Yeah.
duplexer here. So you got
Okay.
one wire going into the one cable into the
Yeah.
radio.
Okay,
And you can be if you have a full duplex radio, it just means you hear yourself. Half
Okay.
duplex, when you're transmitting, you can't hear anything.
gotcha.
Full duplex, when I'm transmitting, I hear myself coming back. I use earphones.
On the
But
satellite.
On the satellite, then I know I made the satellite.
Okay,
He doesn't know he made the satellite. He can pretty much guess, but he'll know when someone comes back to him and says WA9 JVQ.
yep,
This
yep,
is
yep.
this is yeah.
And the
It's-
thing I've learned is, and when we talk about the tracking applications and everything, you can follow the bird. You're going to know if you're receiving the bird, if you're off of the bird, just on the receiving thing. So if you're receiving it, you know you can hit the bird on a pretty good percentage time. And like I said, on a half duplex transmitter, you shouldn't have a problem
Yeah, that's
with
pretty
it.
slick. So when you transmit, you're actually receiving the transmission frequency of the satellite.
That's right.
You're waiting to hear the transmission coming back off but it's a different frequency when it comes
It's
off.
a different
Yeah.
frequency when
Yeah,
it comes
yeah.
back.
That's why I have
Yes.
dual band transceiver.
But it's instantaneous. There's no delay.
Oh, there is no delay.
It comes back instantaneous.
If
When
he's
I'm
in the
talking,
bird.
I'll say KC, and I can hear KC coming
Okay.
through the earphones if I'm on it.
All right.
I haven't set up my radio on that. Now, people, you can use, if you don't have a dual band transceiver, you can use one for, say, receiving, if you got a 2 meter.
Two
and then
radios.
and you
Two
got
radios.
Two radios.
And then you would not need the duplexing.
Right.
In fact, because
Right.
you hook one radio up to the 70 centimeter side
Right.
and one to the 2 meter side.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people do that with 2 radios.
Yeah.
Now this is a full duplex Alinco radio, but it's not. It's. I bought this for a certain purpose of sending 1.2 gig transmissions to the satellite. It is not a good radio to use with this antenna for full duplex. Because it has what's called desensing. So one antenna will quiet the other one, and you can't hear very well. So even though this is full duplex, they recommend 2 radios. But like I said, I bought this because one day a week, one satellite is on 1.2 gigahertz. So I want to try that. In fact, I have tried it. So.
Now, one of the things you might have, all you astute people that are paying attention, I've been standing here for how long? I've been holding it.
25 minutes.
How much?
25.
25 minutes.
Is
Pretty
it that
late
long?
for an old guy to be holding this up. Of course, I do curls. But when I'm out there operating, I've got a $20 shooting stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay? And using the app, I know where the bird's coming from, and I get on.
You mount the
Oh,
phone.
that's the other one.
Yeah. Okay. You mount the phone right to there, and you can just watch the bird go across the sky right on the phone.
This little mount was $9 from Walmart, okay, for iPhones in your car. This is I don't use the iPhone, I don't have a SIM card into it, but you can pick up Wi-Fi and the apps work, okay? The apps work, it's fine with it. And so that's my rig. As you notice, then I got my good hand and I can move around.
There's a dot. You can see there's a trajectory and a dot on the phone, and you aim the antenna at the dot. And if you aim the antenna at the dot, then all you got to worry about is elevation. You got to know whether it's 20 degrees, 45 degrees, or 90 degrees. But this way, you just follow the dot. It's It's easy. Now he
But
Not on
uses
Hamsat.
Yeah, on Hamsat.
Hamsat.
I'm watching.
Hamsat.
I'm watching the tracking of the satellite, and I'm just moving. I'm not. You don't have to be that precise. What I'm learning is that the people that have home stations, permanent stations, you can get automatic.
Yeah.
Okay, all this stuff. The most important. A lot of them aren't doing this so much. They're doing this with a rotor. Okay, and you got the software. Amstat sells the software to control that. If you got a cat radio, da. But what I'm finding out is the elevation isn't all that important. They fix their elevation on their stations if they got it, say, up on a tower or whatever, and they're only moving it by
Azimuth.
the azimuth.
You will, if you got it set at 40 degrees, you will lose, it'll be all okay up to about, say, 75 degrees. But there aren't too many birds that go directly overhead, to be honest with you. Most of them are low. Every once in a while you'll get a 90 degree or an 89, but that's rare, that's few and far between.
He
He uses the shooting stick. I use a tripod. It basically does the same thing.
and guys will permanently mount, or they'll put us.
There's some people that
I'm
will
gonna have them.
permanently, yeah.
I'm gonna have them fabricate one so it's rigid and I don't have to touch it. I'll just be able to move it by hand.
Well, you already got it, Randy. There's a hole in this handle
Yeah.
for mounting. Yeah, for mounting right there.
Yeah, so, because I want to do the Rove, and when I mentioned a transceiver, the 857, I got a Yazi 991. That's programmed for satellite, and I've got that in my truck, and it sits on my driver passenger, and I can hook this up, or I can, if the weather's really bad, I use the Magnum mount. But when I'm in a Rove, I want to have it in the back of the truck on the tailgate, and then I'll be with the directional.
And I do it a little bit different. I have 2 antennas on the roof of the van, on mag mounts, and I have a Kenwood D710 on the seat, and that is a full duplex radio. And so I'm working off 2 antennas with an AB switch, because when one fades, the other one might not. So what causes fading is that satellite is tumbling, and it tumbles very slowly. It's not fast. So you can just switch antennas and you're back in business again. Whatever antenna is working. And the whip antenna I have is best at low elevations, and the one that looks like a can is best at high elevations.
Here's one I was going to bring up. I found the lower elevations are best. I have the best luck with that.
Yeah.
And there was an 87 the other day, because it's just about overhead, and I didn't do so well. This morning on the rock out there in Franklin, there was an eastern bird. It was an 8-minute pass. It was 12 degrees above the horizon. I had 4 QSOs on that with this antenna and this radio.
There's a reason why the lower birds are better. When it's directly overhead, the satellite is 400 miles up.
Mm-hmm.
When it's going down to the horizon, it's 2,000 miles away. But you can hear it so much better, and you can get into it so much better. And that's
They got a ground effect.
that's due to what's called ground effect radiation. The ground is amplifying your signal to that satellite. It doesn't do it, even though the satellite's only 400 miles. It doesn't amplify. But the signal's passing along the ground, and it's the moisture in the ground that's amplifying it. Yes, sir.
Most of the time, you guys are doing it with just handhelds, so you're only about 5-6 watts.
5 or 6 watts.
Yeah.
We get 2,000 miles. Line of sight, 2,000 miles to that bird.
Unbelievable.
That's at the horizon, at 2,000 miles.
Yes, that's at the horizon. This is giving you a 10 dB gain.
And here's something. What do you know about 2 meters and 70 centimeters? It's line of sight.
Yeah, that's what I said.
It's line of sight, 5 watts. Guys are doing under a watt for just like the QRP
Yeah, QRP.
people. And it always blows my mind because I can picture that bird coming over. This bird, as we call it, okay, that's old timers, is a foot square, cube. It's a foot by a foot.
Well, some of them are only 4 inches by 4
4
inches by
inches.
4 inches, the cube says.
Yeah,
You've got it down well enough so that, let's say you were separated, you know, like, let's say you two guys get along so well, but let's say you're separated East Coast, West Coast. Could you bank on something like that, let's say 2 out of 6 days, that you could actually make contact with each other? Do you feel
probably daily.
Probably daily.
that?
Okay,
That
where-
much fidelity.
it used to be called three coast, you know, because it was, or three border, I guess, because, you know, you could reach Canada, you could reach, but that was because we've perfected it now. We both work Panama. We were Cuba all the time.
Well,
heck,
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia,
And
Labrador?
Labrador.
Labrador?
I had 3 QSOs two
Yep.
weeks ago up in Labrador.
yeah, and I got Labrador.
Remember, it's line of sight, and those repeaters, basically that's a repeater up there, they aren't even running a watt, transmitting.
No, they're running milliwatts. Yeah.
Okay, here's one. I'll give you a little story of one of my best memories of a rove. I was out in the Bighorn Mountains of Wyoming last year, and I wanted to go work satellites. I had them pegged what time to go. I've told this story before in here, so bear with me. I've heard that, but I got off the one road. There was a dirt road to get up high where I was above pastures and really big open area at what they call Burgess Junction.
I've been there.
Okay, Burgess Junction. As I was coming down the hill before I came down past the Tongue River, there was a pickup truck camper in the sagebrush. I noticed them. I said, "What the hell?" Because it was, excuse me. What the heck was he doing in the sagebrush? Because it'd get up in the 80s during the day. And why would you be camping there? Because there was a lot of boondocking campsites along the Tongue River. Anyways, I go up the hill, and about a half mile, I couldn't see him anymore, and I get on the radio. Here comes the bird, and I said, okay, you know, I'm calling WA9JBQ DN64. I did it twice. WY7AA DN64, where are you, JBQ? So what do you mean, where am I? He says, what are you driving? I says, Toyota Tundra. He said, I'm in the pickup that you passed me. He was a half mile away from me, and we probably had the shortest QSO on record. So we're laughing back and forth, and he says, you know, where you are and everything else. Guy in Minnesota comes on, and he says, why don't you guys get off the air and get a room? True story. So I got a new friend, WY7AA JR. He's out of Cheyenne, Wyoming. Sure. He turns around and gets his parts from, this is an arrow. Why they call it an arrow, these are Eastern arrows. If anybody knows anything about archery,
Bow hunting, yeah.
bow hunting, this is a bow and arrow,
Yes.
arrow.
Yep.
Easton, EASTON arrows. They're made in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And what JR does is he modifies the boom. He drills holes. He makes it lighter. I have no problem, even though being 72 years old, holding it. But
I have no problem either. When I first started, I took cans, soup cans, started with soup cans and go up to heavier cans and just did curls with them, you know, just to strengthen the arm, but I have no problem.
Sure.
I'm just naturally strong.
Oh, you do curls too, so, okay, yeah,
Let's
so
do this one.
let's do this. Okay, I gotta turn it on, I think.
This was from this morning.
We'll put it up on top of the radio here, face it out.
You got,
Put it on top of it.
yeah,
We've got to sync it.
you gotta sync it.
Good morning, Dana, QSL, thank you.
You're gonna pick up the,
Yeah, I'm going to pick up the end of that. Bear with us a second here.
you're gonna sync the boom box.
When did I get off of that?
I
I'm
don't
going to
know,
turn it on and off.
I gotta turn it off again.
Did you put your radio back on?
to no pay attention.
Did I? Yeah, I guess I did. It shouldn't matter. Okay, here we go.
You pick up mobile phone.
Somebody on the phone.
It's so funny.
Well, there you go.
There we go, okay. All right.
Did you pick it? Yeah, you're on. Okay. No, you didn't pick it. You just saw it.
Oh, okay.
You just saw it. You didn't.
Whiskey Alpha 9, Charlie Bravo, Quebec, 52.
There we go, connected.
You're connected. Okay.
Is there a volume on there?
Yeah, there is. Which one's the volume plus?
Alpha M3B, FN01, good morning. And M3B for BE1 BOX, FN85, good morning, Wade, how you doing? Nice day here. Victor Echo 1, Victor Oscar X-ray. November 3 Golf Sierra, Echo Mike 28.
He's in Kansas.
November 3 Golf Sierra for BE1 BOX, FN85.
VOX is in Nova Scotia.
Have a nice day.
Whiskey Alpha 9, Joliet Bravo, Quebec, 52.
WA3IQU, November 5, Lima Echo, X-ray Fox, November 1-1.
IQU, WA9, JBQ. I didn't get
Victor
that.
Echo 1, Victor Oscar X-ray, FN85.
VOX, WA9, JBQ.
WA9, JBQ for BE1 BOX, morning from FN85.
Good morning, Dana, QSL, thank you.
Have a great day.
W5PFG, WA9, JBQ.
WA9, JBQ, November 0, Alpha November, Echo November 22.
Alpha November, WA9, JBQ, QSL.
QSL, Echo November 22 from N0A and 73.
73, got you on the recorder. He's in Iowa.
Who called N0A?
Why I got this on, because it's kind of humorous. Whiskey Alpha 9, Joliet Bravo, Quebec, 52.
Victor Echo 1, Victor Oscar X-ray, FN85.
Whiskey Alpha 9, Joliet Bravo, Quebec, 52.
Victor Echo 1, Victor Oscar X-ray, FN85.
Whiskey Alpha 9, Joliet Bravo, Quebec, 52. Whiskey Alpha 9, Joliet Bravo, Quebec, 52.
Victor Echo 1, Victor Oscar X-ray, FN85.
Whiskey Alpha 9, Joliet Bravo, Quebec, 52.
Quiet.
Very quiet. And it's cold out here. Up on a ski hill and it's windy and cold, about 20 degrees. 73, have a good one, Dana. If you heard the guy, he was calling looking for somebody. You don't, on an FM bird, you don't call CQ. You just give out your call sign and a grid. So I already worked them. I've worked them about a dozen times already. Okay, we've sent QSL cards back and forth, and I'll work them once a week. You know, you just say hi and everything else. Okay, so he was looking for somebody, and I was doing it purposely because I gave it a couple seconds to see if somebody came back on him. Okay, nobody come back at him. Then I went searching. So that you heard that about 6 different times. Then he come back and said, "It's pretty quiet here." And then we had the conversation because we had the bird to ourselves. Yeah,
So that's how you're initiating. You're just giving your call sign and
Oh.
your grid,
And
yeah,
you're
great.
and then to get off and listen.
You get off.
Unless you're calling somebody,
Yeah.
then you'll put his call in, your call, and then your grid.
Okay, so regular protocol except for the grid.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the grid here in our area will be what?
This is 52, 61, 62.
This is 62. This
Okay.
is 62. We live in I live in 52.
I'm 52.
You,
It's
yeah.
a Maidenhead,
Dallas
it's
is-
a Maidenhead grid.
Yeah.
Maidenhead grid.
Google Maidenhead.
Or you get an
grid.
app for your phone
Yeah.
that does it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
just so that I know
Yeah.
the way it goes.
But usually the birds, especially on the weekends, everybody's on it.
Ham clock
We'll give you
will
the,
give you the grid where you're in.
yeah. Well, and there's another one.
We're in EN63AA.
Right.
Yep.
And there's another one out there too.
It's divided up. It's EN63 is the grid, and then AA is the sub square. It's divided up
And you
into
called it, what was that, ham clock?
Ham clock.
Ham clock.
HAMCLOCK.
Okay.
And that's for iPhone.
Yeah. And there's another one.
There's another one that does it too.
I'll give that when I can put
Yeah.
my ham down. The thing is, when you
Turn
do
your phone
it, if oh,
Turn it off, and then I'll put mine on.
okay, when you get, if the bird is slow, you're giving out your call sign with a grid. But usually you're trying to pick up somebody that you want, a grid that you want to do it. And Clayton Coleman, who just took over Amstead as the new president, W3FLG, W5FLG, he's down in Florida on a roll. And he was off of Boca Grande Island off of Key West
14 miles west of Key West.
on a roll. So it's kind of a rare grid. I went calling for him. There's bulletin boards. I follow him on Twitter, and this is how we communicate on these roves and whatever. I went looking for him, and he picked me up and came back on
I
me.
did the same, and we both got them.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of fun. Or you're listening and say a station that you want to work, you pick him up talking to somebody else. As soon as they break the contact, QSL, gotcha, 73, you get on them. You don't want to step over them, but there's a lot of stepping over, and I just got screwed out of, I thought I had a solid QSL with a guy out.
You actually
Washington.
did. We both have it on the tape.
And he said he didn't have me on the log, but on the tape.
I'm going to play one
So-
more cut, and it's a once in a lifetime thing. It's like hearing an SOS from a ship. You know, Titanic sinking. You know, it's a it's a once in a lifetime thing. I'm working a bird, and all of a sudden, this emergency comes over. It's going to be will be about 30 seconds.
Kilo Quebec 4, Mike 5, Echo Mike 65. Once more on the call on the grid. Kilo Quebec 4, Mike, Echo Mike 65. Delta November. W5PFG, Kilo 4, Yankee Echo Lima. Yankee 4, YEL, this is W5PFG. Kevin needs to take some information for me. Stand by, emergency. Everybody else, please stand by. Let me relay the information to Kevin. Are you ready, Kevin? You and Del. Okay, we're on a problem. We're stuck here. Prepare to copy the information. Big Ben National Park break. 432-477-2251. 432-477-2251. Break. River Road West. River Road West. Between Solis 27 decimal. Do you copy, Kevin? Okay, the next pass under a work is going to be XW2 alpha at 1617 That'll be 1617, work XW2 alpha, and then I'll be on AO92 at 1736, but not to make contacts, only for you, just to check in. PFG, back to you, Kevin. QSL, I'll relay the info. Okay, yeah, we're not going anywhere. Thanks.
That's right. That's W5 Who's stuck? Yeah.
We both heard that. We were 7 miles apart. That was kind of cool. That's the exception, but everybody got off the bird.
Yeah.
Nobody interfered with it, and it was kind of a cool thing.
It wasn't. I keep it. It's just a neat thing to be able to hear.
Yeah.
You know.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Yeah,
Do you archive all your recordings?
No.
I do. I keep a paper log, a diary. I'll give you a little story. Patrick Stoddard, he's one of the directors of Amstead, WD9 EWK. He's down in Phoenix. In May 12th of last year, he was my first QSO. He was up in Canada on a roll, and I got him 5 different times up there. He was in about 3 different grids. When I got my 100th, it was WD9 EWK. My 125th was WD9 EWK, and I put that all over the Amstead bulletin board. So when it came to 150, I said, I need you, Patrick, to keep the string going. Now remember, it's 25 grid increments for the going up on the VUCC. You get stickers, okay? And that cost you $7. Okay, but it's an accomplishment. Okay, let's put it that way.
It is. It's fun to do, and it's an accomplishment. And every time you get 25, I get close. I'm like 2 away now from my 250th. So yeah.
So I'm going to 150, right? So it just so happens I need that one away from 150. And Patrick puts on a bulletin board. He's going to be in this grid. He's on a grove in Arizona. Okay. So I emailed him. I said, son of a gun, we'll keep the string alive. He says, well, what do you mean? He says, you got DN 23 and 33 from me already. Oh. But he says, on May 11th, or not May 11th, excuse me, February 14th, I'm going to be in DN 31. He says, I can't wait that long, I'll have withdrawal. Okay? So about 15 minutes later, he emails me back. And he says, you know, I was looking at my log, and this comes back to your question. He says, you didn't verify a QSO from May 15th, 2019. And I go through my paper logs. I said, I don't have you down. He says, here, I'm going to send you my Dropbox recordings. He puts everything on Dropbox. There the QSO was, WD9, EWK, WA9, JBQ. How you doing, Patrick? Doing fine, QSL. I logged it. That gave me my 150th. But now he's going to be in a new grid on Thursday. One place on the Mexican border, and it still could be because one guy is telling me he doesn't have me in the log today. So yes.
Do you use a different logging program than you do? Do you guys work HF too? Or-
Yeah, I use Ham Radio Deluxe and upload it to LOTW. No matter what I'm working,
But it's
FT8 or a satellite. I log it into Ham Radio Deluxe and I upload it to LOTW, then download from LOTW the confirmations.
But he's got a manual with the satellites. It's manual.
It's satellites, you have to type in manual. FT8, it's all automatic. You don't do anything.
Yeah. But you still got to make the things. Yes, sir.
That was Big Bend Park, South Texas. Is that where that SOS came from?
I think that was Oregon.
Oregon. That was Oregon. Big Bend, Oregon.
Oh, Big Bend, Oregon.
Yes.
Okay, because I've been down to Big Bend in South Texas.
Yeah.
That's such a desolate area there. Now, did you ever find out if that guy got help to get out
Yeah,
from being
he's
shot?
he's the president.
He's the president of MSAT now.
He got
He got out. I have a DVD, if any, a video, a CD rather. I'm sorry. No, it's a DVD that I made several years ago. Well, it's got to be about 2013 here in Miller Valley, because that's when I started satellite. This is what got me into it. So if anybody would want to borrow it, it's the club's. It belongs to the club. You can take it home and look at it and get some ideas. So you want it? Okay.
Yes.
I was just going to say that I had you mentioned the Bighorn Mountains, and I had an interesting deal. We were actually riding the Bighorns, and for whatever reason, phone coverage was spotty.
Yeah.
We couldn't quite get it, but because I had the 5-watt thing, I was able to hit a repeater instead of in Sheridan, and so I was amazed. That's a long haul.
Oh, heck yeah, over a couple passes too.
Yeah. And I was just amazed again that FM, how that sometimes works so quirky. Where here I could, if I got in trouble, my phone wouldn't have worked, but the radio would have.
It would. Yes.
Right.
The protocol on satellite then is you use your regular call sign, even if you're in a remote location. You don't do like a /0.
You do a side,
If you're logging that,
If you're logging that way, if that's the way you're going to log, like there's a guy was on today. He's a stroke 7, and he's on big. He's there for the winter wherever he is. He's there for the winter, so he's now a stroke 7 for the winter.
So you guys don't do that when you're mobile?
No,
I know.
because you're using that stroke, that designation, region designation. If you're logging into LOTW, okay, from that grid, but you're mobile now. So what you do with LOTW, you make the grid the station location. So when you're logging, okay, you're following this? When you're logging to that grid.
Yeah.
So you don't get credit to your home QTH grid.
Because you're too far away,
Yeah.
but you can get credit to that.
But they get credit for working the grid. You don't get credit. You only get credit for that grid if you keep on working from that grid.
I've probably worked from about 15 grids, maybe 20. Like I said, I've been down in the Appalachian Mountains
So
in
do you change the
Pennsylvania.
call sign each time?
No,
You just change the location.
Just change the location. Just change
LOTW.
Just change the grid. I'm still KC9UQR, and I can be in DM17 or something.
Now I go down to my son's. He's 125 miles. He's within the radius of mine, and that's EN61, EN51. Okay, and those are both within my QTH. That's within 125 miles. He's down just this outside of Joliet, Illinois.
He needs a grid, so I'm going to go down to the 51, EN51. Every once in a while we go down there. We go to ride riverboats and that.
And he eats pizza.
And I eat pizza down there. Yeah, Chicago deep dish pizza. And, so I'll go down and do a contact, give him the grid.
Dean. Al, you going to be able to get in here?
Well, if you
I
give me
want
15 minutes, I can do it.
Okay, well, we got one more quick thing. I passed around the Rick and I's cards. One of each of us a satellite, and then I passed around the regular card too. And if you get into satellites, please either do cards or LOTW.
Mm-hmm.
LOTW is so nice and so fun, keeps track of everything. But these people are counting on you. They're in it. They're not in it for a game. They're in it to get grids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.